stability ball leg press is a great way to activate our glutes and go through a larger range of motion than we do with a traditional squat. By leaning back into the ball, we can shift our weight backwards much farther than we could if we were just doing a traditional regular squat. Because we can get into that low range of motion, we can really activate all those muscles kind of at the end of their range of motion. This is great because that range of motion that we use when we're squatting is very specific to running. And so what it does is we're working through deep hip flexion and deep knee flexion and working on all of those hip extensors and knee extensors. That's gonna apply over to your running form into more power, especially if you're running or hiking uphill. Let's take a look at how to do it. To set up for a stability ball leg press, you're gonna need a ball and some kind of way of adding weight, whether that's a kettlebell, a weight plate, just some way of adding weight that you can either hold in front of you or kind of set on your shoulders. So you could even use something like a sandbag. For this exercise, you don't necessarily need a squat rack, you just need an empty wall. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your ball, that's gonna go against the wall here, and then you wanna have your weight out in front of you. So mine, I like to stand my plate kind of up on its side, and I'll stand it up just in front of me. Just make sure you don't bump it so it falls on your toes or something. And you'll pick it up when you get to the bottom of your first rep. Starting with the weight here and trying to get the ball behind you and get in position is a little bit tricky. So I just set it in front of me and I'll pick it up when I do that very first rep. So the ball is gonna start kind of just on the very bottom of my low back, and my feet are out in front of me, so I have a very slight lean backwards. From here, I've got my feet about shoulder width apart, and then I'm gonna squat down. As I go into that deep squat, I'm gonna go as low as I possibly can while still maintaining good form. And I'm gonna let my bum kind of tuck underneath the ball as I go down. The ball is gonna roll up my back and it's gonna end about at my shoulder blades. So from here, I'm gonna go down into my first rep. Once I get to the bottom of that rep, I'll pick up my weight and then I'm ready to go. So from here, I'm pressing myself up and then back down. So I'm getting nice and low to the bottom here. I'm in a very deep squat and then coming all the way up to the top. When I'm finished, same thing, I'll go down, I'll set that weight down in front of me, and then I'll come up to finish my last rep. To increase the difficulty, you can add in 5 to 10 pound increments, and depending on how large of plates or kettlebells you have, you're just gonna hold that new weight out in front of you. If you find that this exercise bugs anything when you go kind of to that end range of motion and you're getting down really deep, there's a couple of things you can do for adjusting for that. Number one, just go down to the point right before you maybe feel any discomfort and just work at that range. And then over time, gradually work on being able to get deeper and deeper. When you get to that end range, when you start to notice like things might be a little bit uncomfortable, double check your form at that point. See if maybe your knees are collapsing inwards or maybe something is just a little bit off. You can usually make a little bit of an adjustment and sometimes you'll be able to go a little bit deeper. If not, make it a goal for yourself to just gradually be able to go deeper and deeper with this exercise. If getting into this position really bugs you, you can substitute it out for a weighted wall sit. So rather than moving through a dynamic range of motion, you're just gonna sit with your knees at 90 degrees, back against the wall, and then you can hold that weight in your lap in front of you. Similar muscles, but you're not going through as much of a dynamic range of motion, so it's a little bit less running specific. A couple of other adaptations that you can do for this exercise is number one, you could use a leg press machine. The one thing with the leg press machine is it controls your range of motion much more than using a stability ball. So it's a little bit less running specific because you're guided through that range of motion and you use a few less stabilizer muscles. The other option is if you use a TRX and do a deep TRX squat. It's the same idea where you're leaning back so you're able to get your weight a little farther out over your heels so you can get a little bit deeper. So that's another great substitution that you can make.